In just an hour, sexual abuse survivors begin a drive to reform state law. They want lawmakers to change the civil statute of limitations for child molestation cases and establish a hotline for victims. The drive follows an I-Team investigation revealing documents the Archdiocese of Cincinnati hoped people would never see. I-Team reporter Lori Quinlivan has our exclusive report. Lori.
Tanya, David Kelly is a free man, never charged with a crime, perhaps due in part to actions by church leaders. Victims worry Kelly is still abusing kids, and they say the Archbishop still is not taking responsibility.
Have you covered up any of the crimes?
No.
With your priests?
No.
Have you reported felony child abuse to the authorities as required by Ohio law?
Yes.
When?
When required.
Well, that's been a law since 1974. Have you been reporting all the child abuse that you become aware of to police?
We have reported all the child abuse that we are required to report. That's all I can tell you. I don't know any more than that.
He is a liar.
Victims are angry after reading these letters from a priest personnel file. They call them bombshells, and we are going to show them to you. David Kelly was a charming priest who befriended boys from Westside parishes he served and from Elder High School, where he taught religion.
We thought, why don't we invite Father Cal? Because, Father Cal's cool.
In May of 1983, his glee club invited Chaplain Kelly to their end-of-year party. He says Kelly drank with the teens, then invited him in for a nightcap.
I was like, well, sure.
He was naive and a virgin. Kelly was a wrestler, chaplain of Elder's team. He used wrestling skills to pin the boy's head between his legs and sexually assault him.
And that's still it haunts me.
Why?
Because I'm a male. And that doesn't happen.
But he made you question my whole sexuality and all of that?
I mean, everything. You know what happened to me. My wife, I never even told my wife what I told you.
Alcohol, cigarettes,
Victims say Kelly routinely invited boys to his room where he gave them beer, pot, porn, and molested those he could.
He says, now, what happened here, we can't let this, go out of this room. And I was like, who do you think I'm going to tell?
He graduated in '83 and told no one. But that fall, another victim did tell. An elder sophomore told his mother Kelly had abused him, and she told Elder Principal Tom Kuhn.
I talked to Father Kuhn on the phone and told him that something happened.
This letter proves Archbishop Pilarczyk knew several teens accused Kelly of molesting them. Names are erased from these letters, but using dates and Catholic directories, the I-Team fills in the blanks. Pilarczyk writes, in the fall of '83, the priest principal, Father Kuhn, reported parents of at least 2 students said Father Kelly had them take off their clothes and he touched their genitals. Within a few weeks, the same kind of reports were brought to the principal by several additional students. Fearing the real possibility of widespread scandal, Father Kelly was told he would have to leave the faculty and the parish. He readily agreed. He was strongly advised to enter professional counseling. He never did, to the best of my knowledge. Compare the Archbishop's letter to what he told the I-Team about Kelly in 2003.
He was excessively familiar with young men.
You removed Father Kelly from elder. Why wouldn't you remove him out of the priesthood? You didn't even send him to counseling.
No, I'm sorry, I don't remember all the details. I'm not trying to be coy, I don't remember.
He should have taken Father Kelly's hand and marched him right down to the police department and said, here, we know this guy is abusing little kids.
This memo shows leaders knew the law. In 1985, Priest Personnel Director Paul Railing writes, Kelly should be sent to counseling out of state. Reason? Ohio law requires reporting of child abuse. Instead of calling police to report Kelly's alleged abuse, the Archbishop moved him to St. Christopher's north of Dayton. No one told the pastor here Kelly might be a child molester. 2 years later, he kicked Kelly out. Reverend Bob Monin writes Kelly, the first day or so of your arrival, I bluntly asked you what the problem was. You said very little. I did emphatically state to you no one except priests or family would be allowed to go to the second floor into our quarters. In the months that followed, there were numerous occasions when you took people into your room. While I was in Texas, it's evident that a boy was allowed to spend the night. The boy is a high school student who missed school the next day. Frankly, this scares the hell out of me. I have asked Father Railing to reassign you. Not a single person in the parish will suspect a thing when you leave. The same month, the Archbishop got another letter about Kelly from another priest, the Reverend Tom Bolte.
Christ is risen.
Bolte pastors St. Ignatius Loyola in Montfort Heights.
Take care, Mr. Hart.
Bolte says a man he was preparing for marriage in 1986 told him Kelly had abused his best friend at Little Flower back in the 70s.
And so I contacted Father Railing, who was in charge of priest personnel at that time, to let him know of the situation. And Father Railing asked me to send it in a letter, just so that it would be documented, and that's what I did.
He writes that he told Railing, "This is a serious matter. I wonder if there might have been other students Father Kelly took up to his bedroom. These boys might need counseling." So Railing writes Pilarczyk. Advise Father Bolte to tell the groom's friend to talk to some priest he can trust. The problem? If the young man were to talk to a professional counselor, that person may report the accused priest to civil authorities. I don't think you should say this to Father Bolte, however. It would be held against you in any future court case. Former Priest Personnel Director Paul Railing is now at St. William in Price Hill.
Father Railing?
He declined to talk.
How can you justify not taking him out of the ministry? Father Railing?
The Archbishop took Railing's advice and wrote Bolte, "I suggest he talk to some priest he can trust. There is some possibility he's confused about what happened." We showed these documents to Father Bolte.
What disturbs you about the letter?
If criminal proceedings needed to occur, it should have occurred, and to remove Father Kelly from ministry at that time.
Instead, the Archbishop sent Kelly for treatment out of state and then assigned him chaplain at Mercy Hospital in Anderson.
He's a monster who masquerades as a priest.
Kelly apparently kept abusing.
And everybody's going to help with Mass? Yes.
In 1993, Father Bolte says another young man told him Kelly had tried to seduce him. Bolte says he told Priest Personnel Director Ken Zillinger, who has since left the priesthood. Bolte writes, "I told him Father Kelly was still stalking teenagers, still coming on sexually to young men after I had reported him in 1986. This was a serious problem with Father Kelly being chaplain at the hospital and living in an apartment unsupervised."
It was wrong, and this was a dangerous situation, and I hope that they were working with it.
But the Archbishop let Kelly continue as Mercy's chaplain. Kelly also said Mass at St. Veronica's in Mount Carmel and St. Andrew's in Milford. He even worked at this rehab center counseling teenagers. Kelly's secret came out only after victims filed lawsuits in 2003. And despite all their letters on Kelly from the mid-'80s we've shown you, this was the Archdiocese public response.
We are certain that we have not received any allegations of child abuse by Father Kelly previous to 1994. If there was any report of abuse before 1994, it never made it to the Archdiocese.
That claim upset Father Bolte, who wrote church leaders to remind them he contacted the Archdiocese about Father Kelly in 1986 and 93.
Everything needs to be above board. Everything needs to be honest, and yeah, it really does.
I was wondering if I could talk to you.
No, I'm sorry.
In December 2003, Kelly left Cincinnati for Clarksville, Tennessee. He lives here in a neighborhood with children.
There is no cure for pedophilia, and they remain dangerous forever.
Given that, should the Archbishop take responsibility to warn people about Kelly, keep track of him?
They should be taking every step to ensure that these priests who engage in this activity never have contact with any child again, no matter what it takes.
The Archdiocese warned the local church, but not Kelly's neighbors. They found out when victims handed out flyers in October.
He had teenage kids. I would say they're probably about the age of 17, 18, come over to his house, help him cut his grass, and just to have a barbecue. I've told my little brother to just stay on our side of the driveway, not to go over there and talk to him or anything.
This local news story is how Kelly's new boss learned his background. Kelly'd been working as a counselor.
If you would have known that he was suspected of all these sexual offenses, would he have been hired?
Definitely not.
And now victims have learned the former prosecutor who declared justice
The Archdiocese has been held responsible.
focused his plea deal on church crimes before 1982, letting the Archbishop off the hook.
I believe that whatever needed to be done was on my watch was done.
There's nothing more that we could have gotten out of this case than we got.
But our investigation finds Allen had all the documents we've shown you that prove the Archbishop's involvement.
It looks like they had those records.
Then why didn't he use
I don't know. That's an issue for Mike Allen.
We examined under oath every witness from the Archdiocese who would have had knowledge of this abuse.
Did he contact you, the prosecutors contact you?
No, I was not contacted.
If anyone in your listening audience has evidence that someone or they saw something that should come to our attention, please call us, because we're reviewing this right now. And if there's information out there we should know about, I hope they would report it.
The Archbishop declined to answer any questions on camera or in writing because of pending litigation. However, a spokesman says Archbishop Pilarczyk never intentionally misled anyone about his knowledge of child abuse by priests or others representing the Archdiocese during his tenure as Archbishop. Now, I'll have more on this story coming up at 5 o'clock. The viewer response to the story that aired first last night is overwhelming. You can read the comments by going to our website, WCPO.com, and also you can find out there what you can do to support victims, and you can read all the documents in their entirety. Tanya?
What an investigation. Lori Quinlivan, thanks so much. We appreciate it.